Today I want to take a look at automating the top navigation bar with PowerShell and SharePoint Online. Here we're looking at the SharePoint Admin Center and we can create a new site with one of two different templates. We're going to choose the communication portal. It has a template which better supports our use case with the top navigation bar. We'll go ahead and choose the standard communication, although you have a lot of other templates and that would be a good thing to spend some time exploring. But for this, we'll use the standard communication. We'll call it communication for the URL, and we'll put down myself as the owner. So we have a site, we have an owner. It will prompt you to choose a time zone, and then we'll create a brand new communication site. Looking at our default communication site, we have a top navigation bar with a couple of standard links. If we click edit, we can see that there are 4 of them, and you can add a link by clicking this plus icon, which hovers in between the existing links. There are some different things that you can do as far as indentation and parent-child relationships. So if we were to add a link here to Google, fair enough, you'll see that it makes it as a top-level item. But you also can take that and position it underneath an existing by drag and drop to put it on top of an existing item. Clicking the 3 dots, we can see that there's a promote option. So that there's kind of some interesting things going on here where you can do parent-child relationships up to a certain level. This supports 3 levels, the way that the site is currently designed. So you can see we have parent, Google, and then documents as 3 different tiers: parent, child, grandchild, 3 levels of indentation. Now, the question is, if we wanted to automate this at a larger level and create a more complex navigation structure, it might be tedious to do it by hand. It also could be error prone. Is there a better way? Can we use PowerShell? Can we use some automation to deploy these navigation links, but using code and using a standard process that's repeatable? So I'm going to go ahead and reposition some of these links so that we have a top level heading and a second level beneath. And then what we'll do is update a CSV file which contains all the links that we plan on using for this particular site. And coming over to Visual Studio Code, what we'll be able to see is our data set for the CSV input. Here we have a schema of 4 columns, very simply defined. We have the ID number, which is a unique primary key. So this is going to be our identifier for the row number. I put that into the CSV as a way of looking them up and making unique reference. We have a parent ID. That is the reference of the parent object if it is a child. If it's not a child, leave it at 0. But you can see a clear relationship that the parent ID references back to the ID number of who is the parent navigation node. For example, placeholder would go under director's office. It has a parent child. Records would fall under resources, placeholder goes under communications, and business service forms goes under business services. So we are able to maintain a hierarchy by having the parent number reference up to a prior row. That's our schema with the CSV. We'll go ahead and bring it back into text mode. All it is data with a comma separated value. The PowerShell PS1, we're going to connect to our site using Connect PnP Online, echo back the site to make sure we have a valid connection, and then go forward with filling the navigation. Coming to PowerShell, I've already executed the connect command. We can do get PnP web as a way of confirming our context has the correct target. And from there, we're going to go ahead and read the current navigation, read the CSV, and then loop to create if missing. So with the current navigation looking to the site itself, the navigation is empty. The links that we had, I have manually removed. So we're starting in a clean position with no navigation links. Looking at our code, we want to read the CSV of how we are aiming to fill the top navigation. We can do top navigation links and see all of our data was successfully imported because that's matching back to our CSV file as input. So we have a connection, we have the input. Now it's time to create the links if missing. That is a series of looping. The looping will create both parent and child links. We have support for both patterns in here, handling a scenario 1 and scenario 2 with some if-else conditions. And in the case of a create with parent, we do provide this parameter of the parent navigation node. That is the key difference. We will go ahead and copy this code, bring it into our PowerShell, execute the code. We can see it running. It's checking for the parent, creating the child underneath the parent as needed. Refresh our communication site. And here we have our top navigation bar filled in with all of our beautiful automation. Looking back at the code itself, if we have our CSV as reference, we can very clearly see business services with business service forms as a child link. How do we know it's a child link? The parent ID number right there. That's what defines it as a child. And then for the
Yes.
navigation overall, we have business services all the way into planning. That is a match where the full navigation has been populated. And if we come in here to edit, we can see the hierarchy of the indentation even more clearly with parent-child links being created. We can edit those links to confirm
Yes.
the destinations and bringing in those target values. We have a fully automated way to reliably create our top navigation bar. Now, in a communication site, this is named QuickLaunch. It is the same as what you would see on site settings under the QuickLaunch area. That's another position to see the same thing for a communication template. On other site templates, you do have more than just the QuickLaunch bar. You may have a top nav and a left nav. So one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at the code is the location parameter. Are you wanting to use QuickLaunch or are you wanting a different location? Something to adjust as you are running the code on your site. So that's our PowerShell for how we can loop. That's our CSV for input. And that's our final result of a fully populated navigation bar. Thanks for watching.